question on ACTI. Are we dropping the funding on ACTI up through this? Or are we still going to fund it?
We're still funding it.
No, no, I know, but we're not funding it
I would
fully.
say right now it's just the 1% that was raised last year with the 180,000 is it within this budget, scope of this budget.
Yeah, so instead of the 360,
Correct.
we're only going to have another 180. Is that going to put us in a bad position? I don't know what ACTI, I don't know what's going to come in the future. I really don't. Yeah, none of us.
I think
know.
ACTI is working through some plans, and I believe that we can get that information here shortly for the upcoming school year. So I believe that there will be more information that will come from ACTI regarding anything that they're doing. I would say probably around August or September or so.
That'd be great. Thank you for telling me that, Dr. Metzger.
Any other questions on A or B?
What did we have as the difference between these two budgets?
We had 195,169.
Is that all only attributable to the transportation?
No, remember we talked about the autism classroom and the iPad cycle and the general liability insurance, along with transportation.
Between A and B.
Between A and B, yes. Yes, because some of the revenue won't be pushed through until the following. So some of it's anticipated revenue that isn't showing in there. So we talked about that. We showed some of that revenue we'll see and recoup some of that over the time through insurance coming off. But right now we have full insurance being put in there until and when we come off
The
the.
insurance is like 10,000.
Yeah, so some of those tick markers we showed that once we're done and with this would be approved and through, we got to 77. So some of that's going to be through the transition that happens over several months when we get
So
there.
this is gonna cost us almost $200,000 more next year than staying in-house.
Like I said, go through the transition. Some of that will come back to us. So right now through a budget we have to have has to be shown in a certain manner the way the budget works.
What about the transportation reimbursement costs? Is that going to go? We're going to get more back.
That won't be till the following because they're always 1 year behind.
27.
So we're going to have transportation reimbursement next year based off current service, this year's current services.
Tom, could you clarify one thing that I heard you say in the FBS meeting? You twice said unemployment comp. Did you mean workman's comp?
No,
Unemployment comp. Okay, so you meant what you said.
Yep.
And you said that was an additional insurance to the district?
That would be additional charge to the district, correct?
When they go to Christ and they go on unemployment insurance, that we're paying that.
For a
Correct.
for a set time period.
18
correct.
months.
We pay all of it this summer and about half of it next summer.
Yeah, we'll have up until calendar year.
And that cost is included in that figure, 95,
It is included, yes.
165. So that's why you see such a.
Yeah. Said all the costs that we plus and minus in that grid are coming through in the budget. So some of those will be through time. Attrition did back in.
Wasn't the autism class supposed to be $250,000 by itself?
Correct. So that was my mistake. There was clarification. Yes, the A and B. I was talking about what was different from this last month to this month in the proposal.
So A and B has more than just transportation.
It's just transportation between A and B. Last month to this month, those were the changes that were made from UE. That was my mistake.
Thank you. Thank you.
Clarifying.
Okay, any other questions? All right, on C, the homestead, farmstead inclusion. Every year we offer the county an assessed real estate value reduction for the purpose of reducing the taxpayers' school tax bill. We encourage all taxpayers who qualify for this program that make sure you apply at the county assessment office annually by March. This is something that we do every year. This is something that looks at if you qualify, please take advantage of it. That's basically what we're looking at here. If there's any questions, comments?
been there.
I went to the Target last week and I'm like, look at that.
We have one in Hanover. You can go to Target in Hanover.
Oh, good to see you. I thought people were shopping at the.
All right, is there any other thoughts on that? Then we'll go to D. Of the transfer of funds of the general fund to the capital reserve pending results of the 2024-25 financial audit. This amount will be determined in the fall. It's pretty much self-explanatory.
I want to comment on that though. Once again, last year, I asked Tom when this came up, first time I've ever had to deal with it, I said, are you anticipating any surplus that you're gonna put in here? And Tom says, well, it's just a placeholder. Is it going to be mandatory for this board every year we get surpluses to stick it in capital projects? I mean, we have so many other expenses, obviously, that we're incurring.
This, like I explained, the finance committee will discuss where, if we ever want to put funds into capital reserve, this is the placeholder we need to put. They can put $1 in. I need to have it approved prior to the end of the fiscal year, June 30th.
Correct, I understand that.
So that's where it's like, if we even had $1 we want to put in, we have to do this. So when October comes and we want to choose where to put the funds, that'll be discussed, and then the board will have an action about whatever funds would go into capital reserve at that time. We would officially put the dollar amount in. Right now it's basically a no dollar amount. What that will be. It could be zero, and we just don't call action upon it in the fall.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or questions on that? Okay, E, the transferring of the future of Emmett Middle School and High School assigned fund balance from the general fund to capital reserve to pay for construction expenses on an as-needed basis up to the total assigned $6,100,000 pending approval of final budget. We've kind of danced around this before. Just needs to be made mention. And does anybody have any thoughts or questions concerning E? All right, looking at F, the Utica National Insurances are general liability insurance and Eastern Alliance for workers' compensation insurance providers for the 2025-2026 school year. If there's any questions on that?
Yeah, Tom, sorry to bother you again. On this insurance, you said it went up. Do we know about how much?
Yeah, it was around 26,000. I think it's on the attachment.
And from what I've seen, a lot of school districts use this company,
Which one?
Utica.
Correct. Yeah, they do underwrite a lot of schools.
It's not anything we did, it's just inflation, I suppose.
Correct. It's industry-wide.
Yeah, that's what I figured. And this is just the liability for workman's comp.
Utica covers basically our property, general liability,
Okay.
fire, auto, umbrella coverage, and then Eastern Alliance strictly covers our workman compensation.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Any other thoughts or questions? We'll go to G, the letter of agreement with True North Wellness Services for June 30th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 at no cost to LASD. Any thoughts or questions on that?
Big question. Why is there no cost to LASD? I know that's a stupid question.
You want there to be a cost?
No, Nick, no, I'm just asking.
Because they've been here at the district, I mean, they've been long before me, and they provide counseling service,
Mhm.
but they bill insurance
Oh, okay.
for the
That explains it.
students, yeah.
Okay,
They do
thank-
virtual
So
counseling.
they just leave room for our students.
Yeah, so if we don't have students, like if for some reason a parent wants to use that resource, they could use that resource.
Right,
And
instead
they
of
do it
waiting a long
online,
time
yeah.
to get an appointment.
Yeah.
Well, that's really nice.
So, I just have a question for you, Tom. It says no cost to the district, but are there hard costs associated with fulfilling our part of the contract, meaning we provide rooms, we provide internet, we provide staff, all that is no cost?
Correct.
Okay. All right, on
says reservation, that's what Joe like, okay,
There's students there now.
but they can take more, we have to send.
Okay, any other questions or thoughts on H? On I, the PSDLAF and the PLGIT as the district's depository and banking institution for the 2025-26 school year. This is something that we use all the time.
No, that's right.
This is just a formality to have these for the school year.
Okay. J, the transportation agreement with Christ Transportation beginning at 2025-26 school year and ending at 2030 school year with an optional 5-year extension. Are there any thoughts or comments on this? We kind of danced around it at the different budgets, but this is now the time to talk about it.
I'm sorry. I was a bit concerned, and I noticed that they lowered the amount of buses that we're going to have. And I guess this came out of your meeting that I attended, Nick.
They lowered the amount of required.
Required, okay, required.
So we can go above it with no penalty, but
We
we
can't
lowered
go
the
below.
ceiling, or we lowered the floor, so that there's no cost to the district. If we go below that number of vehicles, we pay that 35% fee.
Right, which you were concerned about it. You should be. I often worry though, when you split a contract up like that, here's my worries about Christ, and this is my question. Once we take Christ on, and they're already here for some of our stuff already, understandably, we lose our buses, we lose our upper hand when it comes to renegotiating contracts, because we no longer can say, well, we're done with you, we'll see you tomorrow, and we have to buy all the buses again. That concerns me, because we're only gonna have 2 buses, I believe, and maybe 4 vans, according to Tom. And if we try to leverage that 5 years, Christ is just gonna come back and say, you know, because they already tried a 355 rate, as you stated in the meeting, which was higher than the 340 rate that you talked about they already have. And you're right, you were exactly right, and I was listening to you. I'm concerned at 350, I think they only dropped it by $5, I understand, is really, to me, is not really a big move. And it concerns me. I had bus drivers tell me that if they don't get a raise this year, they're not coming back. I've had this Christ, and there's so much dilemma with this, and it's happening so fast. And my biggest concerns is where do we go from here, considering that, to me, the rate went up, period. It went from 340 to 350, let's just say, and we gave them 5 years. What's gonna happen at the end of 5 years? Because they're gonna renegotiate, and they're gonna know we don't have any buses. So they're gonna know they got us. That's what my concern is. But we also have 8 very aging buses out here, as Carl has said. He's correct. They're aging. They need to be replaced. A lot of them. That's another issue that I'm weighing the options. Because once we make that move, as you said, Nick, in the meeting, where you're right, once you make that move, we're locked in. And you were correct when you said it. And I have some concerns about it, that's all. I just think it's happening so fast. I mean, it's kind of like a last minute decision. I mean, what your thoughts on it, I don't know, but I agreed with what you were saying, and that you were correct.
Yeah, I'm still contemplating. My biggest concern, I'd say, since you're asking, is that I went into this expecting that, and from the conversations that I had, that we're paying our drivers whatever we're paying our drivers, and then we're paying this payment to Christ for each route that they come in and drive every day, which is several times more than what we're paying our drivers. And I was expecting that when we go all in with Christ or with another vendor, that they would come in and their prices would be lower than that, whatever it was. In my mind, it was 300 or so, and I was assuming that would be a lower because that's the whole thing with we kind of went, what was the expression you used? Kind of flipped we have less internal drivers than we do
Correct.
outsourced.
Correct.
So, but to then go all outsourced at a higher rate than what our current outsourced people are, that's where I'm struggling.
So what you're saying is you were expecting we were gonna save money?
Correct.
And we're not?
Correct.
Yeah, I think we all thought we were gonna save money.
And
Well,
you have to address the issue
Yeah.
of the drivers in some
Correct.
manner, because we can't get drivers. We need to take care of the drivers that we do have.
Aging buses.
We have aging buses. It's a whole
Quagmire.
thing. But that's the part that just, I can't seem to wrap my head around why we're paying more for, when we're locking in a 5-year or 7-year contract, why we're paying them more per route, per day, than what we pay them to where when they're on a day-to-day rate, then one day they can be there, the next day they're not, there's no guaranteed money, it's on-call as needed.
And then, because one, they can say, we don't want to show up today, find somebody else. Two, they're not having to think about buses that they're gonna have to replace. And three, they're already paying for their unemployment insurance for them, so you have to add on to that on there for the future. So you have to remember, you have all those costs, but if you come in and take over fully, then you're gonna work out keeping buses. If bus driver A that's working for Christ, is it gonna make it you have to have that, and that bus driver A decides then that he needs to call it sick for a day, there needs to be a substitute for bus driver A. So they gotta put that person on payroll at some point. Those are all in costs when you're doing business, when you go in and sign a contract and say, you're going to show up with 11 buses, X number of vans on every single day, and make sure that you've got people like Christian that are showing up every single day. And if you don't have that where they can do it, you don't have the luxury of saying, well, okay, we can call them as a substitute. You don't have that luxury. You are the substitute. You are the employer.
None of those costs justify a higher rate than substitute service in my mind, and the fact is that why would any district do a multi-year contract? Why wouldn't every district just get their substitute rate and bring all their substitutes in there?
Are there only 3 districts in the entire state that still has their own bus fleet? I mean, it's the same type of rhetorical question that you can ask. It's why?
But why would we, that's, I mean, Tim, you have to acknowledge,
I understand.
why are we gonna pay more money? I could even see the argument if it was the same. If it was the same, say it's the same service, or it's a substitute, but that still doesn't make sense.
The substitute service you're based off of is from last year. They haven't had a year to give us a new one, which could be their rate of $350 or $355. So you're basing off of 24 current years when they did it back last
I would say
year.
it was still represented.
And they're locking
Some
in
kind
that
of
rate.
savings.
They're locking in that rate for the next 5 years
No.
plus a nominal COLA increase.
So
They're locking it in plus a guaranteed increase for themselves every year.
And Tom, to that point, you just made a brilliant point. If they did it from last year to this year, what's to say they're not going to do it to us in 5? They are. They're going to hit us hard because they know they have us over a barrel, as Nick said, over a barrel, because we have the buses.
What are we gonna do, Mr. Sullivan? I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, what they're going to do
You
Well-
raise the rates every 5 years.
every 5 years.
After
Yeah.
5 years,
After
you can
5
really
years.
raise them real high.
Could be
Because-
potential to keep it the same. These are the
Yeah.
things that we don't know.
Yeah, agreed. That's what
And
we're
that's
what we're
exactly why I shared, in Adams County, it's a close-knit community, and it's about building partnerships and working with other businesses, and I think it's important to maintain quality partnerships with others, as opposed to trying to ensure that we have the cheapest sub-rates here, the cheapest rates here. I think the overall package is very close, and if you understand and look at it, we're getting hung up on route running, but we're not hung up on, they're reimbursing us at 100% for fuel costs. So when you talk about routes and you manage in fuel costs, that company that does that will change that ratio. Okay, you want lower rates, then you buy all the fuel. So it's a balance and a negotiation between partners to try to see what works best for both. We're certainly not trying to put Price out of business by having a bad contract. And I don't believe Price is trying to put us over a barrel by having a contract that is exorbitant. I think it is all about building relationships and having partnerships. And when you take a look at this, the one thing that I do want to point out, the budget that we have that's on the document that I've provided does not include $140,000 that we would keep in the budget for a new bus next year if we were going to keep a fleet. That would put us almost even with the overall cost. The second part that I would say is when you say that Price would have us over a barrel to negotiate because they know we do not have our own fleet, you are correct. We don't have our own fleet. It is not a question here, in my opinion, about a contract of whether or not to go with Price or not. It's a decision based on the number of drivers that we have and the situation that we have moving forward. If we go there, we're now negotiating with other vendors and other contractors, not in-house. So then you put the competitive bid out to other vendors if Price comes back and says, we want to significantly increase your rates. And again, I'll come back to building partnerships, working with people, building relationships, not having a reason for others to try to hurt or hinder another organization. So the more relationships that we can build, the more we can do for our students, which this is really what it's all about.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure we already have a relationship with Price. They already do. Do they have a 7-year contract with us now with special ed?
No,
No.
that's Lincoln.
That's Lincoln.
They currently have a 4-year contract, but it was with athletics.
I thought it was 2.
I think it ends in 2020.
Yes.
And Tom, and you may not know the answer to this, how many other bus avenues do we have, when I'm saying vendors, in your opinion, in the area, that could do what Price could do?
I think we know about 4 or 5, but within this process, we only have 2 that are willing to submit bids here
Oh, wow.
at the time. So it does not to say that they wouldn't in the future, but at the time, we had, I believe Laura could correct me about, with 4 or 5 inquire information throughout the RFP process and ask questions.
The better the relationship that we can maintain with others outside would also, I would say, significantly impact the number of future bids that we would get if we needed to get to that spot. We may have a wonderful relationship with Price, and we may have some really great favorable things that happen that would lead to a simple extension. And we may not. But to me, the opinion is it's about what we can do for our drivers, our community, and what we can do moving forward.
I'll say that we are never going to have a better negotiating window than now. We're never going to have more leverage than now because we're not forced to do anything. We have our own fleet, we have our own drivers, we have our substitute services. We are not forced into a situation where we have to fully outsource. And again, I'm going to say, I'm not against the concept of outsourcing. Right? This contract is just not what I was expecting. And I think that in the list of priorities for us as a board, that making the most fiscally responsible decision for the taxpayers should outrank giving a lucrative contract to a for-profit company to build a relationship.
So then the question has to be asked, are we at the point of no return? Or are we saying.
Right, yeah.
If you take that,
Right.
take that path,
Right.
you're saying that what will in-house look like? And how much will that cost? And I think, Tom, over the years, I mean, Tom, you have made mention of what that could look like, you know? I mean, so,
The in-house will, according to A and B here, would look like $200,000 less in the budget next year than it would outsource.
So,
If
I'll
we
just,
have to buy
Yeah,
a bus,
yeah.
this,
I would just say, there's a lot of moving pieces that were not discussed if we quote-unquote do nothing and just move forward in-house. So if we remember, we had a mechanic who resigned, we have to fill bus drivers, we'll have to get a substitute contract at some point. We'll have a lot of moving pieces that we'll have to pick up either within a week to have them approved or throughout the next several months to have them up and ready for next school year. So this budget was reflective of, right now, as if we just quote-unquote did nothing. So if we
Right.
want to move forward with in-house, that is a concept that the FBS committee did not talk about, other than raising the rate to churn up in-house. If we're looking to keep the rate the same and get new buses and slow churn forward, that's a different budget than what's on here.
Wait, the budget, if we don't outsource, is reflective of what's gonna happen next year? even
if we
though it's
maintain the
next year's
status quo,
budget?
we don't buy new buses, and we do not try
Raise.
to raise the rate for our current employees. So as is status quo, that's what this budget reflects without transportation.
That's what A reflects.
Correct. To what Tom is saying is, we did not discuss the impact of trying to continue forward, recruit new drivers, increase our fleet, make our fleet newer, thereby more reimbursable. We did not discuss that. We discussed keeping everything as is, or coming through with a new transportation vendor. So there are costs that would be associated with increasing the cost to our drivers and purchasing new vehicles to increase our fleet, maintain a good quality fleet, or build a good quality fleet, I should say, because we currently don't have a high quality fleet or a new fleet. Those costs were not represented in this budget.
So from what I understand, we'll need about 6 new drivers, 6 more drivers.
6.
And a mechanic,
Correct.
And van drivers.
and van drivers. I didn't get to see that information about
Correct.
van drivers. but-
now
So-
that's talking like long-term.
So I'll say that the rates are within the budget for those vacancies, but we would have to go through the process of trying to hire them before the start of the school year. So we would take from June, July, and August to try to churn that up, if that's something that we are trying to look back in-house. We have quote-unquote paused since January of doing this because at the time, that was the
Conversations,
recommendation
yeah.
of the board is to proceed with an RFP and to not look at in-house. Now that we had the information, we had that would be something we would have went about differently. I'm not sure we would have been ahead of or had more information this time, but it's just something that
Right.
So
was
you
the
guys haven't
conversation.
done anything to prepare for the potential of the board not deciding to
I
outsource?
would say no, because the conversation up until the June FPS committee was to outsource